The Queensland Greens want complete equality in all areas for lesbian, gay, bisexual and intersex people under the law. We believe it's a human right to live free from discrimination on the basis of sexuality or gender identity, that people have a right to be recognised by their lived gender, and that it is the role of government to protect all people from discrimination, vilification and abuse. This is an extensive policy that encompasses legal, administrative, social, educational and medical measures. They have deliverables and they're the ones we need. As the Party of Social Justice, I'm very proud of this policy. My friend Jen was the architect of this. I salute her. She's magnificent. This is the best gender policy in Australia. It is just far away and the best. Honestly. Read it. Just tell the other parties to adopt it. So I challenge those parties in this election to produce an extensive, compassionate and forward policy for what we know is at least 10% of our community. At least 10, plus the 20% of the people who suffer around them as family and as their support systems. 30% of the community need equality. I think we are the party of equality. All of our principles are based on that. All of our policies come from that baseline. It's what you need. You need a Green in Parliament. You need our chink of light in there. Pretty damn dark place at the moment. I could be your chink of light. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And now Rob Wardop from the Catters Australia Party.
Good evening, everybody.
It is very brave of Rob to be here tonight, so he does deserve at least that clap, so yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sitting in the seat of South Brisbane. I've been a politician for 4.5 weeks now, so you'll excuse if my introduction doesn't thank everybody that needs to be thanked, but we'll take it as read to save some time. My history started as a little constable of police in the state of Queensland, after being a waiter in fine dining rooms around Brisbane at the Crest Hotel and a few other places. When I was in the Queensland Police after serving 9 years, I came across a circumstance that pretty well solidified in my mind that life isn't a dress rehearsal and what I was doing is pretty well wasting my life. So I had an offer to go and learn about commodities trading and construct a cotton gin down in northern New South Wales. And I went from 80 grand a year on overtime, etc., to $35,000 a year, so my wife was not my number one fan. And I went down and worked in Corinda, west of Walgett, and constructed a cotton gin. And I met some amazing people down there. Following the demise somewhat of that company, I'd gone to university and done some subjects in business management, and by then I was a strange mix of custodial awareness and a bit of business acumen, and I obtained a job at Queensland Corrections looking after the prison industry space, in that the prisoners would come down from where they were accommodated and I would find them work to do so that when they were leaving the jail, which 87-89% of them do, it gave them the best opportunity without being distracted to actually skill up and lessen their recidivism rate. I was headhunted across to Western Australia to set up the first industry space in the first private jail in Western Australia. And incidentally, if you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken in Perth and buy some coleslaw, that goes into the jail I was at as cabbages and comes out as KFC coleslaw. So don't let that put you off. Having successfully done that for a 6-month contract, which is all I was contracted for and all I really wanted to do, I thought that I knew everything there was about business, and I came back to Brisbane and I started my own. So 8.5 years later, I finally became a modicum of success in that I could take a wage home out of it. I hadn't realised that it was as tough as it was when you don't have the government checkbook to buy a machine that you need to then make this thing and that thing. I fell into politics because I had the same decision that most other people do on Saturday, who to vote for. One of the discouraging things that I've had while driving around is almost needing a mouth guard to drive up to Mackay and back in a B-double truck to make sure my staff got paid through the GFC. And the state of the highway hadn't changed in my lifetime, especially through Gingin and Karoi and places like that, where 34 people have died so far this year on our highways. and I just saw a billboard that said distracted drivers die, courtesy of the Queensland Government, and I thought, well, while I'm looking at the billboard telling me not to be distracted, I'm sort of kind of distracted. And I thought, well, why are they spending money on that and not fixing the road? It was shortly after that I heard Tony Delroy talking on ABC with Bob Cootha, and I went to the website and I read 21 core values and principles that are on that website. The number one core value, and I would imagine that nobody in this room knows about it, because for 7 months we've been trying to tell people about it, but we haven't had a breath of air in any sort of media. So I empathise with minority groups totally. The number one core value was that as a representative of an electorate, I don't need to seek a conscience vote. I have one automatically. I can vote for what is best for my electorate regardless, and I can cross the floor and vote, and there's no ramification, because this party was set up by the most independent person in politics, as zany as he can be now and then. And then I read through the rest of the core values and principles. As a small business person with my business growing and needing capital at an achievable and affordable rate, instead of being a victim of the banks that set their own, one of our policies is to reinstitute a state development bank that will allow capital access for small business at a reasonable rate. If you want to force four major domination parties of banks in the economy to compete with their rate, you make a bank that sticks a rate out there that they have to compete with. That's one of the things that attracted me to the party. We will progressively go through. It's a tiered process. It's not a flash in the pan. Within 9 months we had 76 candidates. We were funded by the Electrical Trades Union. We've managed to annoy just about everybody that's donated us money, so we're not sort of pandering to any particular leniency or pressure. And they're pretty well of the understanding now that what they need is not what they're necessarily going to get, no matter how much they tip in the bin. One of the main things that we're driving for is a 12-month moratorium on coal seam gas mining. I don't know if any of you came down last week to South Bank at the Convention Centre and listened to speakers speak there, but I think hinging our future on an industry that is drilling holes in probably 4% of our prime agricultural land in Queensland is probably not the right thing to do. Another major policy standpoint we've taken is market domination by Coles and Woolworths. We believe that their domination should be restricted to 22% to allow the small fruiterers, the community shops, the corner stores, the IGAs, the people basically that you need when they get total domination, then they just start chipping up their prices. When a farmer gets 89 cents a kilo for his pumpkins and it's shipped from Gatton to Brisbane and they charge $4.98 a kilo, there's just something going on that's not right. So I've had the bell. I look forward. I'll hang around afterwards if anyone wants to come up and chat to me about other elements. But I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob. I introduce the Treasurer and Deputy Premier, Andrew Fraser.
Thanks, Troy. Can I begin also by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we gather tonight? Can I acknowledge my good friend, the member for Brisbane Central, Grace? So good that they named her twice. Can I also acknowledge Rob and Anne Boccabella, Anne's a business owner in my electorate, and it's good to have her here as well. Can I thank the GLBN for hosting tonight? I wanted to talk briefly about matters relating to your concerns as a business network, but then to make some fairly direct points, because folks, we're 5 days out from an election that will likely change the future of Queensland, and there's no point beating around the bush on all of that. In my view, where we sit in Queensland at the moment is on the cusp of an uptick in the economy, the likes of which haven't been comprehended before for a generation. We've got private business investment growing in this state at this point in time by 35%. You will live a long time before you see a number like that running through the Queensland economy again into the future. What that's doing is delivering a growth outcome of 4.25%. There's only one other state that's in the +4 club, and that's Western Australia. That's why, over the last 12 months, what you've seen is the Queensland economy generate 20,000 jobs, while the New South Wales and Victorian governments have overseen economies which have shed 45,000 jobs. what's going on in Queensland at the moment is an uptick in the economy that I think will be a sustainable one, and one that even if the other mob get across the line on Saturday, despite everything that they've promised, even they won't be able to bugger it up in large part, because this is a locked and loaded investment surge that will fundamentally change the outlook of the government into the future. For us as a government, we've gone to this election with a whole series of policies to support the small and medium business sector, in particular to promote innovation. What's Your Big Idea Queensland program will be increased and extended out over the next couple of years, which provides grants of up to $100,000 to small and medium businesses to fund new ideas and to promote new products and to commercialise new products. We've also got a young entrepreneurs program called Young Guns, which is about providing seed capital to small and micro businesses in particular. We continue to maintain a view that to have a competitive business environment, you need to have competitive taxes. That's why we've got the lowest payroll tax rate in the nation. That's why we've got the highest threshold of all the mainland states. And that's why we continue to have a tax take that's around $500 lower than the average of the other states of Australia. That's where we are on the economy at the moment. But I wanted tonight particularly to go directly to the concerns that you share here in common, not just about the nature of the economy and where the business sector will go into the next little while, but onto those issues of equality which are front and centre in many ways for many people in this election campaign.